My name is Brad Barker. I'm an admission representative here, and I get the pleasure of introducing Dr. Kim Farley. She comes to us from Milwaukee Area Technical College, and she is the Associate Dean of Natural Sciences and Math there. She has her PhD in Political Science and a Master's in Public Administration. And she is a UW alumni and also is born and raised, I should say, in Laramie, Wyoming. So this is sort of a homecoming for her. With that said, I'll turn it over to Dr. Farley, and here we go.
Okay, thanks, Brad. Thank you for having me here one more time. In the last couple of days, I'm getting so that I recognize people who have been at a few of the other presentations, so I apologize if some things sound familiar, if questions are asked, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. I have been so excited over the past couple of days and what I've seen at this college, and I understand I'm going to be getting a tour after this is over as well, so I can see a little bit more. When I came in on, was it Sunday afternoon, I was kind of tired, and I drove around the outside, and I thought I really ought to drive around the campus, and I didn't do it because I was just thinking about my bed, but it looked so small from the road, and yesterday when I started walking around, I couldn't believe how much there is that you can't see from the road, and have seen some very nice facilities so far. I'm sure I'm going to see some more of them this afternoon, but in meeting the people, in seeing what you have here, in spending a lot of time going over your website and looking at what you have to offer, I'm really excited at the possibility of working here, and hope that I will have that chance. When I was looking at this job description at the beginning, I was really struck by, first thing, it was probably the longest position description I have ever seen. It was about 9 pages. And I was wondering how on earth I was possibly going to address all of the points of this. And then, started looking at your catalog and at your website and deciding how I was going to approach this. And the more that I learned about it, the more that I knew that I wanted to apply for this position. I see myself as a very good fit for this. Although I have been an associate dean, I've basically been doing dean's level work for the past 11 years. I've also served as interim dean for a time, but I really don't want to be a dean. I feel that I need to move forward because of the background that I have and the way that I work with people now. I like the idea of being able to reach across groups and work with different people and take advantage of the really interdisciplinary background that I have and the experience that I have working in a number of different areas. So as some of you have already heard, when I looked at the potential reorganization plan and saw the areas that I'd be working with as Vice President of Academic Affairs, I just saw a lot of areas that I already have some experience with, either a lot of experience or just kind of a direct working experience. And I think that I would have really, it would be a good vantage point for me to be able to work with others to bring ideas together from different parts of the college and work on this reorganization and see how all of this is going to shake out. Because, as Dr. Schaefer mentioned yesterday, until they get the Vice President of Academic Affairs position in place and the new Student Services Vice President that's already been hired, there really isn't a clear idea of how this reorganization is eventually going to take shape. So I'm excited at the possibility of being a part of that and seeing how it moves forward and helping it to move forward. So that's kind of what I've noticed, what I've seen in the last couple of days, and as well as a lot of the research that I've done on LCCC since becoming interested in this position. I'll be happy to take any questions that anyone has.
What would you do to maintain a positive relationship with the faculty?
I don't think that I would do anything different than what I'm doing right now, because as an associate dean, I work really closely with faculty. I've got very good relationship with my faculty, and I have about 238 that I supervise full and part-time. I think I have a good relationship with them because I am a very straightforward person. I am going to give them the truth. Sometimes it's not something that everybody wants to hear, but I just feel like if we can be straightforward from the beginning with what's going on, it's going to be a lot less painful at the end, and we can work together to try and resolve a situation or whatever might be going on. I am very good at communicating with my faculty, so if there are initiatives that have been announced to us from the president's level or from the provost level that are going to have an impact on them, I make sure that I understand what this issue is and how it's going to affect the teachers, and then I immediately let them know about this and what we're going to need to do to address whatever it is that might be going on. I guess an example of that recently would be in the past year, the Higher Education Opportunity Act, because it was going to have a major impact on the way that we deal with textbook selection in our classes and materials that teachers can use, and it was going to be just a change of operations for us. And so I made sure that I understood that law, and that was where I have a really solid background in regulatory compliance because of work that I've done previously. And so when I see a law, I tend to take it apart because it's what I used to do and see what parts of it are actually going to be of direct importance to us and how we move forward to address them. So that was just one area where some of the other departments that I wasn't responsible for, they were kind of getting in an uproar. English was especially upset about this. Math and science, I think because I was able to explain this to them, we were able to deal with these changes in a much more rational manner. Sometimes too, some of the other associate deans in my division will come to me and they'll ask me if they can have the email that I sent to my faculty so they can send it to their faculty, because I have explained things in a way that that they would like to tell their faculty. So I think my existing relationship and the way that I handle people already, my relationships with them, is exactly how I would continue here. Oh darn, we're all out of questions.
What would you consider to be the key or major responsibilities for this position?
For starters, I think it's going to be the reorganization, since we have a new president, and I guess I understand from my meeting with him yesterday that the Board of Trustees had also charged him with making some changes at the college, that would be a primary role that I would have in getting that going. In talking with him yesterday, we were talking about, or I mentioned that I saw the news article on your website that the new Vice President of Student Services was going to be here starting August 15th. And I said, oh my gosh, I can't be here in 15 days if you know, I'm just interviewing right now if I were to get the position. And you know, what would be the expectation there? And he said, well, I'm really hoping to get things, you know, we need to start having these meetings and these discussions going this fall, because I feel that, you know, if somebody were to come in January, then it's really going to put us behind the curve in terms of changes that he would like to see. So that really has to be the first priority when I come in is working with him, working with the Vice President of Student Services, with the other VPs, and also with the rest of the college, because you're all stakeholders in this, to try and figure out what type of reorganization needs to take place, and then how all of this is going to happen, because people are affected, and I certainly understand from my conversations that people are concerned. After all of that happens, then I guess we take it from there, because there are, the college wants to continue to grow, and I think we need to take a look at existing programs, and are these programs doing for the college what we need them to? Do modifications need to be made? Do programs possibly need to end because they are not meeting 21st century needs of employers or students? So I would hope that in a reorganization, these types of conversations are taking place. And then we look at development of new programs as it comes. I guess those would be a couple of the big things that I would be starting out with. And I think we also need to consider structure once the reorganization takes place. I guess I could add to that, given conversations that I've been having, is there seems to be a lot of concern about advising. There is concern about faculty development, and because we have been talking about online development especially, and what we could do for faculty, and I think there's a way that developing skills for teachers who are teaching online could also fold into this whole discussion about faculty development, and we could improve online courses at the same time that we would be developing faculty. So looking into something like a faculty innovation center, which we have just put in Milwaukee, and has been a really good place where teachers can share their knowledge when there's peer mentoring going on, training classes that might happen. We do, just things that could be really simple, even for starters, like brown bag lunches led by instructors. We do some that are learn it in 30 minutes, even for people that are really pressed for time and just need, a little bit more information about how, maybe they could do a function in Blackboard that they weren't aware of before. So I think we could make a lot of use of existing resources if we had a center and an organization put together that could help in that direction. So I think those are some of the beginning things that I would see happening.
The college is currently working on a faculty credentials policy, something we haven't really had in the past. How would you handle it if you had some faculty members, and I'm not saying that's the case, but if you had some faculty members that didn't meet the credentials once this new policy was adopted?
If they didn't meet the credentials, and particularly I think I would start, first of all, if they were a full-time instructor and they've had good service here at the college, I would look at how the college might be able to help them out. In our own case at my college, there was a fund set aside when we needed to meet at that time the NCA requirements, now the Higher Learning Commission, but funds set aside to send them to get their master's degree so that they could continue to teach for us. We did that with both full-time instructors and part-time instructors to make sure that we continued to have our group. And I think because these people have already provided a service to the college, we need to look at, is there a way that the college can also help them out? It's too bad to lose good instructors, and particularly when they know the college and they know the courses and they have done well for the students. I think we need to try and figure something out to help them. But I do want to make sure also that we've got teachers that meet the qualifications that they need to. And I guess one thing I would add on to that is we had a lot of resistance from teachers when this was going on, and I wasn't even there at the beginning of it. But I was doing an interview one time with an instructor who had been with us for many years as a part-timer, and taught Phi Ed, and she had an opportunity for a full-time position, and so the dean and I were interviewing her one day, and the first question was asked is, why do you want this position? And the first words out of her mouth was, I need the insurance, which is just not the good thing to say. And you know, after that, you know, she started talking about the students and things, and he asked her about her credentials, and she was still a little bit short on what she needed. And we weren't seeing a really good discussion from her in terms of how she could help the college or how current she was in terms of her skills. And so, but because she was the most senior part-timer, you almost got the sense from the interview that she felt entitled to that position because she was the most senior. Another person came in, you know, about an hour later for that interview, and was another part-timer who had been around for quite a while. And she had gone back and gotten her master's degree, and she sat down and started answering these questions and talked about how she learned about, on her online course, about developing a website and how she used this in her Phi Ed class, and the way that she had her students working on their nutrition based on some other articles that she had read, and everything about how MATC had paid for her education, and it came right back to us in that interview, and how we benefited from sending her to school was right there. And of those two people, she was the one who got the job. So the other one was not very happy about this, and she was the most senior, and she finally decided she'd go back and she'd get those other 15 credits. And a few years later, she had the opportunity to interview again for a full-time position, and it was just a night and day difference between the previous time and that time. And she said, you know, I realize now what a difference it made to take these other courses, and I'm seeing how I'm applying these in my classes. And afterwards I talked to her and I said, you know, Beth, you just said everything you should have said in that first interview, and she did wind up getting the position. So I've seen this and the importance of going back and getting more education and learning things. You may think you're a good teacher, but currency, different methods that you're seeing demonstrated in these other courses, we've always got something to learn.
So every year, I'm Meredith Brares, by the way, sorry. So every year when we look at our budget and get asked for requests and things like that, and faculty put in that we need new faculty in this area, and everyone expresses that they have need for new faculty. How do you determine where those new faculty positions get put within the scheme of the college?
In a finite budget situation, I have to look at where the growth areas are. I look at where the student demand is. I look at are there ways that rearrangements of existing faculty resources can be made. It's not just going to be, you know, you have a need, I'm going to give you this person, but we've got to weigh what the needs are and what the benefits are of, you know, maybe hiring a new full-time instructor in a particular area versus hiring, you know, maybe just giving approval for a part-time instructor in another area. I know there are areas where it's very difficult to find qualified faculty sometimes, and if that becomes more difficult, then I think we've really got to look at full-time instructor, you know, doing a good national search and finding someone who could take over in that area. You know, look at where you've got retirements coming up too as well, because that could weigh on the decisions that might be made as far as new faculty are concerned. There's a lot of things that I would take a look at to make that determination. And I deal with that all of the time in my own position.
Thank you. I'm Jenny Hargett, and I have a question for you, and that is, could you please describe a project which you've worked on where you've reached past your work unit to improve a process for students?
I think one of the biggest ones has really been enforcing prerequisites at MATC, and I've been one of the leaders in that one. I think basically because we started recognizing a problem in the math department, so it started in my area, but math teachers were so concerned because students could take any math course they wanted. They weren't blocked, and what they would typically do is select their program math course, because this is what's on their program, so if that says college algebra, by golly, I'm taking college algebra. And they were probably 4 or 5 steps below college algebra at the point. So it was frustrating to the teachers because of the students they had in the classroom. It was frustrating to me because the students get so upset when they're not succeeding in the class, and then they wind up coming to me and saying, this class is too hard, you know, you need to talk with the teacher. But you start looking at their background and they weren't remotely ready for it. So I started talking with deans and associate deans at other parts of the college and finding that there were similar concerns. Not always that a student wasn't ready for a course, but like in the graphic arts program, a student might want to go into a really high-level course, but they hadn't, because there was so much demand for those classes, they wanted to try and keep the group moving along and not just let somebody in at a high level. And so they were trying to put, you know, prereqs on for the same reason, to keep some order in the process. So we started this about 3 years ago, and prerequisites have always been in our catalog. It's just that they ignored them because they could. And we started out with math and English. Those were two the easier ones to do because we had Accuplacer scores or ACT scores in the system that would help in terms of prereq placement, and then we could go on with you know, the grades that they had earned in previous courses to move forward. And you know, we had some pitfalls along the way. Math and English started out pretty smoothly, but then when we brought science on board, science started with our prereqs and then came to a screeching halt by the end of the first day. I had to pull the plug, and it really wounded me to do that. But one of the problems with science is that a lot of our courses rely on prereqs that might be gained in high school, like having high school chemistry or high school biology, and that system does not talk to our system or the system that stores high school and other college transcripts doesn't talk to our data-tel system where students can register. And so you know, when I started seeing the backups and the problems in registration, I said, take it off, or, you know, just let them register. We've got to figure this one out. So at that point, you know, because I was really so happy that we were really getting somewhere with this and making a big difference, and it was kind of hard to go home that night, but I realized that we still had made a change with the math and the English, and I think that was the first time I recognized that you accept the small victories and then you start moving on and you eventually get there. And we did get there with the rest of the prereqs in the college starting the next semester, but that one was kind of humbling that time. So that's been a huge project, and I think it's been a great thing for MATC, and it's helped the students. They don't like it, especially those who are used to the old system, who were around and felt that we were really getting in their way. But I really think it's not closing the door on them, it's showing them a better way to come into the building and to get, you know, a better return on their time and a better return on their investment so they can succeed. So I've been really happy with that. Okay.
Can you tell us, please, about your experience with different advising models and what you have found that works and what doesn't work?
Okay, advising is a big thing with me, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the prereqs, because we had on the prereqs students going into wrong classes, and we had on the advising, students going into wrong classes because in a lot of cases they were self-advising, and it wasn't working. But the experience that I've had with advising models is counselors doing a first level of advising when students are entering the college, and so they're giving them, based on all of the testing that has been done of the student and where the student wants to go, they'll have that first level of course placement for one semester. And then after that, it was handed off to the teachers, and they become the advisors. And this is where the model kind of falls apart a little bit, because there are teachers who are excellent advisors, and they take this very seriously, and they make sure that they have called all of their advisees right before registration starts to get them in for advising. There are others who will contact their students and have them come in, and they'll just say, take this class, and this class, and be done with it. And then there are others who really don't bother to follow up at all and aren't that interested in advising because they feel that it's too complex or it takes their time or for whatever reason. We were losing a lot of students that way, and we really needed to make a change. So one of the things that we did was to put in advising liaisons, and we started having more of an advising center, although at the time it wasn't called that. But one of the counselors took this over, and then there were 2 or 3 advising liaisons in each division who were meeting with the faculty and making sure that they knew of all of the resources that were available for teachers to advise. And one of the big things was like we did a math flow chart for all the math courses, because if somebody was teaching English or something outside of math, a lot of times they didn't understand that progression or what was needed in a various programs. So any type of tool like that we could put together, we put those out there. English liked the math flow chart so much that they wound up developing one for English. We finally got one figured out for science. That one was a many-page flow chart just because we set it up to accommodate the needs for the different programs. So that was working well, and the liaisons were taking this information back to their divisions, and they were going around and meeting in department meetings and speaking, and so it was a good way to reach out to instructors and kind of get them back into the process. Now what we're doing is we have an actual advising center, and there are 3 people that are involved with this. I think they will eventually bring in more, but I've been working on training them because, again, the math and science are 2 of the really complex parts, and everybody needs it, so they need to make sure to understand. So I was going along with the English Associate Dean, and there were 4 training sessions held where they were inviting teachers in, plus these new advising center staff, and going over all of the different resources that are available. And I'm always happy to go out and train. Just the more people that we get to understand this, the better life is. Our newest adjustment to this model, because we have a new Vice President of Student Services, is that more is going to be put on the teachers. I shouldn't say more that way. The teachers are going to be dealing with the students who are academically in good standing. More is going to be put on the counselors because they are going to be dealing with the at-risk students and doing more of what counselors should be doing. Their role was getting kind of fuzzy for a while. And the thing about more for the counselors is that so many of our students are at risk that I think their load is going to be fairly substantial, and I'm not sure how all of that's going to be worked out yet. But we want a way that we can track an at-risk student from the moment that they come in the door, and then that teachers who are teaching them can also give their input and be aware of what might have happened in a previous class or what a counselor might be saying. And we have new software that will be working with this. I saw this in action at Sinclair Community College a few years ago, And I think it's a really nice system for being able to keep track of a student and make sure that there is communication going on regularly with the student and they're not feeling like they're lost in the shuffle.
What system are you using?
I can't remember the name, I'm sorry. I just saw this, and I don't remember what Sinclair was using when I saw that. It's been a few years ago, but I just saw the new one at MATC demonstrated a couple weeks ago, and I just don't remember what the name of that was. I can find out, but we really need to do something about those students if we're going to improve our retention. And I think the more people that can let them know directly that they are interested in them and that they want to help them, the better we are going to be at keeping them at the college. Sure.
All right, any more questions?
I can break into a soft shoe or something, but
All right. Thank you all for coming.
thank you. This is my last official event. I've really enjoyed being here and talking to everyone, and I get a really good flavor, I think, for LCC, CCC, Triple C, and what's going on here and what people's concerns are. So if I get this position, I certainly want to talk with you even more and start working on how we move forward. So thank you.